Welcome to another episode of the Flats Nation podcast. And a big shout out to Brother Dave Fader down Amarada for the awesome music. You can check out more of Dave's phenomenal work on davidfader.com. We welcome aboard Flats Nation today a fellow veteran. Thank you for your service, brother. Longtime dear friend of mine for over at least 20 years. Back when we all had blonde hair. It was all blonde. The man, the legend himself, Captain Blair Wiggins of Blair Wiggins Outdoors. How are you doing today, brother?
I am hanging in there. Just came in from a nice run on the marsh and looking out my front windows at a sunset where I kind of wish I still was, but it's good being back in here talking with you, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Let's get started on some general topics, especially let's go back a few years. Who taught you how to fish as a kid?
I'd say my dad got me started, and from there I just kind of went on my own. It was after I got the fever, the addictions, whatever you want to call it. It was everything you could do to keep me out of the water.
Yeah, know that feeling.
I saw my first light of day over in Lakeland, Florida, and my parents were living in Cocoa at the time.
Right.
And when I was in first grade, moved over to Cocoa Beach, and that was a mistake for them because actually, it wasn't a mistake for them because they all freezer in the fridge.
This is true.
It was pretty cool growing up in that area there.
So you've traveled all around the state. What do you consider your favorite body of water to fish and pole around in these days?
The state or the Southeast or in the world?
Oh, okay. We'll make it the world. What's your favorite body of water?
Body of water. I would say anytime that if I could just pick up and go to the Amazon anytime, what a trip that was. I mean, fishing stuff on the on YouTube, but that was such an incredible trip down there. What's that?
I remember that episode. That was awesome.
Oh, it was killer. I mean, you could catch a fish on every cast down there if you threw, a little soft plastic grub tail bait. It might be a piranha, a arowana, some kind of a weird looking catfish that barks and spits at you when you bring it up on the deck.
They got some bad looking dudes down there with some nasty teeth.
There's some cool fish down there.
That's for sure.
Oh yeah, they do. Absolutely. And they got some fish down there that look like they're a cross between tarpon, an eel, and like a snakehead.
Oh, they're bad dudes.
It's definitely one of the most interesting places to fish. But I would say, if I could step back in time, back in Cocoa Beach would be my ultimate place because, when I was a kid, I never really traveled to fish anywhere. It was everything right there at my back door in Cocoa Beach and, the largest trout you could ever imagine, the biggest red small enough trout. Everybody was always, why don't you go down and catch some bonefish? I'm like, are they good to eat?
Right.
I never had any interest in chasing those glamour fish. I was always a redfish, trout, whiting, type of person.
Right. How did you get your start? And I know this was post-military and time that you spent working with NASA, but how did you really get your start as a flats fishing guide?
As a flats fishing guide? Well, I was working after I got out of the Air Force. I was working for the Space Center, and I was so tired of government spending, fraud, waste, and abuse, and government contracts. And you could go to Ace Hardware and buy a hammer for $15, and you go to the Space Center and you see a bill out there for the same exact hammer for $400.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
The only difference is it doesn't have a little stamp in the iron that says approved for space flight, and it's the only difference. And it, I'm so ADD, and it got so routine for me out there. It was the same thing. And when you take the payload out, or you put the payload in, put it at the pad, change an engine. It was a cool job, but out there at the pad when I was working on it, I was always daydreaming and looking out there at the flats and looking at all the water out there, through duck season, through, all the fishing season, should I say, too. But, when the ducks would come in, we'd be out there on the pad looking at all the ducks flying in, and you could see the giant redfish and the big giant trout that hang out there. There was 15 to 18 pound trout that used to hang out at the culvert pipes there on the Space Center. I used to sit there on my whole lunch break, just go throw pennies at them and watch them eat pennies.
Amazing, isn't it? Amazing. So now, how many years were you a guide before that crazy rock and roll TV host showed up?
Well, I think I started guiding in 91
Okay.
or 92, somewhere 91, 92. It was late 92, 91 when I got my captain's license. So it was around 91. But yeah, it was around then. And then I had done shows with Mark Sims and Rick Murphy, and done a lot of shows with guys that had TV shows out there. And I didn't even start guiding until I was like 30 years old, 29, 30 years old. And I quit the Cape out there because they gave me an ultimatum, and I took where I'm at now. So
That's right. That's right.
So I think I took the right road, but because I was getting to be the typical Cape worker out.
So now, speaking of such, how did you really get your start in TV? I mean, I'm sure that you had guest appearances on other shows, but how long did you do that before you said, "Heck yeah, man, I can do this"?
Well, if every fishing guide is a dream, and back then there was no internet when I started, so it was every guide back then had a dream of having your own TV show and showing people how to fish. I kind of got a guide trips I wanted to do a year, which was about 320 to 325 a year, and just maxed out and decided I wanted to try the fishing deal. And my lifelong friend from Freedom 7 Elementary School, Kevin McCabe, he had a production studio, and I got together with him, and kind of the rest was history. After that, we decided we didn't want to be the same old TV show,
Right.
looking at the back of somebody's head while they're catching fish and not even showing you the fish. So, we used to call it, the bubba on the front of the boat. You didn't want to be classified as that. And I was, more in the camera's face than the person on the boat with me. So I was, and I asked everybody on the boat when I was taking them fishing. I knew I was going to try to start a TV show. I asked them, I said, "What do you want to see in a TV show?" And everybody said, "Show us the fish." Nobody ever talks to us on the couch to show us what they're using, what kind of fish it is, to
That's right.
look at the fish real close. So we got those real close up shots of the fish where we panned down the whole fish. And it was just, it was why it took off so good. And, I just my Florida lingo and my words I make up, and I have a great time when I'm fishing. I take it seriously, but if you put I say you put too much thought into it and too much pressure yourself, you're not going to make it enjoyable. So even when I fished the tournament scene, it was kind of the same way. That kind of got to be trying and a job in itself. But
Sure. Well, that was always the strong suit. Not only was
it has been a fun ride so far.
Well, this is true. And not only were they entertaining, but they were educational. You and I have had discussions about that in the past where I said, there's a lot of shows out there that I don't want to sit there and waste a half hour of my time watching somebody else fish. If I'm not getting anything from this, I'm turn the channel, find something else.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was like, and they don't want to sit there and see somebody make 100 casts and then show me everything in their tackle box. When they tune into a fishing show, they wanted to see fish caught. So
that's right.
That's why you always saw us catching fish. It gets expensive when the fish aren't biting because you still got to pay your camera guys, and you got your room and board wherever you're staying, and it can get expensive. But if you want a quality show out there, you just can't show a bunch of little fish. Sometimes you have to show a little fish or two, but in a bad day, but we'll squeeze two and say, "Here's what we got on a bad day."
I know we have another dedicated show in the planning stages that I'm really looking forward to recording with you. But in the meantime, though, what conservation groups are you working with mostly nowadays?
Well, I've been working with CCA really hard over the past 4 years, and I'm pretty sure anybody in the outdoor industry right now has heard about the Indian River and what kind of bad shape it's in, and hopefully they've heard about what I've been trying to do here, which is the Indian River Clam Restoration Project. That I got to thank CCA for hooking me up with the right folks, putting us down at the right at the dinner table basically, and they hooked me up with FWC. University of Florida.
Gators?
Oh, yeah, the Gators, man. And they got all the right people together. A commercial clam grower up there, Michael Sullivan. He owns Commander Seafood up out of St. Augustine up there right next to Whitney Labs where we spawn and grow the clams. And, it's just been a dream come true for me. And, like I say, CCA, I have to thank for that. and that's who I've been working with close. And I know Chris Whitman, his deal down there with Captains for Clean Water has been a tremendous help for the Everglades down there. And more power to him. He has taken the bull by the horns down there himself as well. And
they've done some phenomenal work. Is there any other conservation groups that you are planning to work with or having the plans to work with going forward?
Not just right now, CCA and everything that they, there are so many projects that they do, from clam restoration to seagrass to sea turtles to mangroves. I mean, there are so many. And, right now my hands are full with Wiggins Outdoors.
I bet they are. Speaking of which, I have a project that I'm working with Moat Marine as a spinoff from an article that I had posted up not long ago. What is the status of Project Snook? I know you were really heavily involved with that for a while. Are you still, or?
Status of Project Snook is, I'm not sure. We down there at Moat, they had a great program going, and DEP stepped in and said they can't release any of the snook that we learned how to spawn down there because they were genetically not the right snook from that area. And about that time, I just, the clams over here were fresh in my mind, and I switched from Moat over to my own deal with a clam restoration project, and I put all my efforts into that. We're sitting where we're at today with about 16.5 million clams that we put back into the river over here. And I strongly think we're responsible now for at least 1 billion clams back in the river that we're not.
That's amazing.
And that's we didn't put out 1 billion. But ever since the first clam bed we've put out, they've spawned, and they've been spawning multiple times a year.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a few years for us both, brother. You were one of the Redfish Tour champions on the FLW series, correct?
That is a fact. Me and old Captain Tad Vandermark, we dug and dug and dug till we finally started fishing tournaments right and doing the right thing. We started placing well, and we did real good back in 2006 and walked away as the first $100,000 winners of a redfish tournament. And that was pretty cool. That was another dream come true for sure.
Do you think we will ever see the return of all those Redfish Tour events that we had in those days, or do you think
we could if we get our water quality back? I mean, look what happened in Tampa Bay and over here and down West Florida. Louisiana's having problems. Northwest Florida up in the Panhandle's having problems. I don't see it. That can sustain some good redfish tournaments right now. And there's a few of them out there that are doing well. But that's a long way to travel from East Central Florida.
That's true. Very true, brother.
I smashed enough bugs in my truck windshield, I can tell you that.
Yeah, it's definitely frequent flyer miles on that truck, that's for sure. Tell us about your new television hosting role and those duties, and what has that migration over to Blair Wiggins Outdoors from past shows, what has that been like for you?
Well, it's definitely been an experience. It's been a challenge, and most of the challenge is just working with the advertising agencies, because you're considered a new show. Even though I was with some companies out there that you're going to see was with some companies out there for quite a long time, 30 plus years in the fishing industry. And when I switched over and made a new show, they said, "Oh, you don't have any ratings. How can you be charged with this?" Blah blah blah. I said, "Well, it's been 30 years." Blah blah blah. You'll notice right off. You might have noticed off the bat here this last year in the airings of Blair Wiggins Outdoors. But some new sponsors coming on. Matter of fact, we got Rudy's Texas Barbecue. We got those guys.
Awesome.
They're a Texas barbecue place out of Panama City, and I love Texas barbecue. Everything on the East Coast down here is like North Carolina or Carolina barbecue. It's all got the soup to it, and that Texas barbecue is a little bit dry, and they offer like just a couple of different sauces with it. But it is good, very good stuff.
You're making me hungry listening to it. Do you find your new role, brother, more involved in what you did in the past, or do you find that now that you've been in this industry for as many decades as you have, that the show and that type of stuff and its staff, you've got it more on a better cruise control than before?
Well, it's definitely a different role. I have definitely a lot more responsibility, but then again, I can make up my own choices of what I want to do. kind of had my hands tied previously. And, now that I have my son, actually, he's the editor, producer, and one of the shooters out there with me out every single shoot now. And I sent him to school back when he graduated high school, and he went to school for TV production, and he finally came around.
So now he's paying dad back. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's paying that back. He's doing a great job. His very first show that he ever edited together was on Discovery Channel and didn't get kicked back. They let it play the way it was edited. And Discovery Channel is pretty picky on what they
I bet
want.
they are.
And so I was pretty proud. He had another one kicked back because he had a bug in the wrong place where we put the logo up, and it was where Discovery Channel put their logo. So we had to move it. But other than that, he's done an awesome job, and looking forward to this year. Excuse me now, and some really great fish. I had one fish. Well, one of the trips into the day, I was on the deck of the boat hooking so many fish that day, and finally got one up to the boat, and it was like a 40-pound cobia, but I got him out of 220 feet of water in the Gulf, and he fought all the way to the boat.
Wow. So how is the present format on Blair Wiggins Outdoors different from past show efforts? And what do you have planned? No secrets here, brother, to help grow its viewership base more so going forward?
Well, it's like I said, the TV part of it is going to be still fishing. It's going to be maybe some different type of fishing. I don't know if it's the fishing I've done my whole life, which has been on addictive fishing for so long. So it's going to kind of follow that same route as highlighting fishing guides and that sort of thing. Because as a fishing guide, I know it's a sink or swim business out there, and the more I could help a fishing guide out there with his business, the more I like to do it.
What about the new shows?
It's going east. I'm going to do a couple of shows from Texas.
Okay, talk to me about the new show's production team. How many camera operators are you usually running now on each show?
Production team, we're sitting about the same. It's usually me and two other camera guys. We had the mullet run here last year where we shot a really good show. That's going to be another show coming up. But with Alex Huey, we shot that one. But we were on the mullet run, and it was the first time I actually had three camera guys. I had one guy running, guys filming, and we got so much footage of mullet run. I'll never have to shoot another mullet run in my life.
And I've watched some episodes. I really enjoy them. And the drone work is phenomenal. How long can you generally get one of those to run, and how much footage can you get before you need to bring her back down? And do you have somebody who's just running that particular camera at one time? Talk to me how that process works.
Yeah, I have a second shooter with me. He's the number one shooter, so he's covering everything I'm saying. And the second camera guy is usually covering all the angles, especially if we're tarpon fishing. He's catching the fish jumping, or he's catching, blocking, trading out the back and catching us on the front of the boat. But when it comes to doing the drone work, they'll take that camera boat, pull it way off, and just film with the drone. Put trading out on the other boat as well, and they'll take off a half mile away and just film a bunch of drone shots. It's like a swarm of bees flying around your head. It's how to make TV. What's cool a lot of times too is when that drone's flying around you, it inevitably you catch a good fish. Always.
Well, you need to run that all the time, then. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
How much time can you generally have one of those in the air that you're using right now?
It depending on the conditions, it's average 15 minutes. So you bring 5 or 6 batteries out there with you, and that 3 hours of airtime with it, and you don't spend that whole time in the air. You're in the air the 30, 45 minutes at the most.
Interesting. Tell me about
that's kind of all different times too. You'll have him. He'll send it up for 15, 20 minutes, bring it back down in the morning. Wait till mid-morning, send it up again, 15, 20 minutes, bring it back down, send it up again. So it's not all just filming for 2.5 hours.
Okay, so you're using it also for B-roll at the same time, correct?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Talk to me about how you approach the scene and your methodology now versus what you've employed in the past. What changes have you really made there?
Not many really, because what we had down as part of our the way we shoot, which is still we sign waiver, or we make people sign stuff on that, but it's kind of the way we shoot and have always shot. Just it saves. It's just if you can think of a way to save time when you're out there shooting, time's definitely money. So you want to take advantage of every single opportunity this time, especially this time of year, because you don't get that many hours of sunlight in the wintertime when you're trying to film.
Yeah, this is true. Now, the music of the new show has that same wild feel. So, are you using the same music creation team as before, or have you infused some new blood in for Blair Wiggins Outdoors?
Actually, Drayden has found the music off the non-copyrighted stuff on the internet. It's amazing program that does music, and it's and there's another guy. There's a guy in Orlando, Brian Jackson. I've used him. I'm going to be using him a few times. But the guys over in Tampa are still gonna. I'm still gonna send them a few shows because Jerry Outlaw. They're definitely a team too.
Now, you've had some pretty eclectic and great show sponsors over the years, and I'm quite sure I have some of that gear in my tackle bag. Who has been with you the longest? And I know they can't all be number one, but who is your favorite to work with the companies that you have over the years?
Always love. I mean, DOA has been with me since day one, since I was a fishing guide. Me and Mark hooked up together. Oh God, I think it was in about '95. I think he was just starting to work on his shrimp, and I was just starting to get my clientele business up, going good. And he would throw me some shrimps now and then, and I would not catch anything on them and tell him I did, but let the clients catch them. And but then I finally figured out how to work the shrimp. He would come up on the boat and we would throw it, and I would imitate how he would do it and just watch him. And finally, I came up with the deal. Just watch how a shrimp works or swims. A shrimp doesn't do nothing really except sit there on the bottom and move real slow. So
exactly, I just wrote an article about that. It's amazing.
Yeah. So me and Mark have hit it off, and he's DOA has been with me the longest. He actually he sold the company last year, and Mitch. I can't. Well, yeah, Mitch owns the company now. I'll just say that. And it's Mark's still working there as consulting, and it's like nothing's really changed. The baits are there, and Mark's doing a lot more fishing these days. But
that's good for him.
Oh yeah, the DOA definitely the longest and one of the best to work with out there. And Mirror, of course, the two bait sponsors, I absolutely love them. And I've got some longtime sponsors out there. Seagar.
It's true. Very true.
It's
very true.
Wright McGill, Eagle Claw. We've been together for a long time. And Power Pole just came aboard, so we're back with Power Pole.
Back with Power Pole, yeah.
Back with Power Pole, and back on the good side, should we say? So.
Well, which sponsor would you like to see? You can do a little fishing here on the internet.
To
come on to the Blair Wiggins.
Any motor sponsor. It doesn't matter if it's to me, if it's a Mercury, if it's a a Yamaha. They all got the HPDI. They're all about the same, in price range, which is way too damn expensive in my book.
They are.
But they all perform about the same. Everybody has their likes about a Suzuki. Everybody has their likes about a Yamaha or even an Evinrude or a Mercury. It's personal preference once you start spending that kind of money on a motor. But just a motor sponsor alone would be great. I tried forever to get Yamaha, and since Yamaha owned Skeeter and Skeeter was a sponsor, automatically there was going to be a Yamaha on the boat. So they're not going to spend money to sponsor me if they're already the motor's already there.
Right.
So,
right.
But this year you'll see a big black Verado on the back of the boat. I'm putting a 350 on that new boat.
That's a lot of grunt for a boat. That's for sure. So now, is there any plans for a big Blair Wiggins Outdoor Mania party? You and I've had some pretty fun episodes of some ones in the past over the years. That's for sure.
Well, a BWO Mogan Mania type party, we might be able to swing one of those. That was a lot of work doing that, and unfortunately, that clam restoration project's taken a lot of time doing that. And we're actually, we might combine it down, and we're going to do another fundraiser over here. So we might make it a weekend deal over here. We did a fundraiser back in 2019 when COVID hit, and raised up about $160,000 to get the clam restoration project started.
Wow, that's great.
And since then we've gotten donations and unbelievable donations that I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it's happening. But that's kind of taken precedence over everything except for the TV show and the internet show. And Yeah, the internet show too. You were asking what's a little different. We're going to be having a lot of hunting on there. I'll be out with Alex Huey on the new boat. We'll be getting a lot of gators. We just filmed a snipe hunt. We filmed a great duck hunt, a great deer hunt this year. So all that'll be on the waypoint side of things, since Discovery won't let me show any hunting on there. So.
Well, let Miss Carrie know that if you guys do have something like that, I promise you and I will not do that. Whatever we did the last time again, that embarrassed her. That's for sure.
That happens so often. I don't know what we did. So
every now and then I get a little flicker of it on the old hard drive. I'm like, did Blair and I do that? Oh, geez. But hey, we had fun. That's all that matters. We had fun. Yeah. We had fun. Well, let's talk gear now. What brands of tackle, rods, and reels are you using and sponsored by?
Well, I finally got another little, I guess I want to say a dream come true, but a product that I used to use a lot many years ago, which was Cabo reels. I absolutely loved them when I was using them. And Luz actually bought Zebco, which owned Cabo, Quantum, and right. A couple other companies there, but they're not going to be doing their saltwater line as much, not as much focus on it, but they are on the Cabo Quantum side. So I'll be using Cabo Quantum Smoke Series and those types of rods and reel setups. Absolutely love the Smoke Series. If you've ever thrown those, they're a great trout rod. They make some nice stiff ones for redfish too, and hopefully I can work with them a little bit and maybe come out with another signature series. But it's all brand new because we were all Luz last year and the previous. I don't know how many years with Addictive Fishing we were with Luz, but
quite a few.
Yeah, switching it up.
Interesting. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I know they make some quality tackle. What about line? What brand of line are you running?
Still running Seagar. I absolutely love the their new stuff, the Tactics Braid and the old Smackdown. The Tactics Braid is really tough, and it's kind of like it works well in the wind. If that gives you any hint of
yes.
of its characteristics, it helps with wind knots and tip wraps and stuff like that. And it's a little bit thicker and coarser line, and it's affordable too. That the Smackdown they're pretty proud of that. It's expensive, but it's well worth the price.
If it lasts a long time, that's the critical thing. I think I still have some line on some of my reels you and I were putting on years ago. So I do remember that. That's for sure. What about leader material? Are you still using them for leader material also?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, God, I got enough fluorocarbon in my garage to open a tackle shop.
Oh, goodness. What about the newer person who's looking into getting into flats fishing? What do you recommend on rods and reels that, doesn't cost a king's ransom to give them a good start, and it gives them a good return on investment if they take care of it? You and I both know saltwater's hard.
Yeah, so for a guide, I would say look at buying something with stainless steel guides. I know the ceramic guides are great, but the rod gets thrown down on the deck of the boat. They get stepped on. They get smacked. They get smacked against other rods. They get smacked against the console with clients. Especially over in my neck of the woods here, because we get all the Disney overflow, and Dad gets tired of hanging around the rat over there in Orlando and wants to go fishing, and takes his kid, and his kid wants to go back and see the rat, and Dad wants to fish. The kid gets bored and starts flinging the rod around. Seen that a million times.
I bet.
But so get some good quality gear, good glass rods. You don't have to do something really, really nice. If somebody really wants nice stuff, they're going to be bringing their own stuff with them.
That's true. You got any fly fishing trips planned?
No fly fishing trips yet, but I still got some fly rods, and we gotta see if I can squeeze. It'll just be a fun little segment on the show. Because Cabo or nobody has any fly rods.
Understood. Talk to me about sunglasses. You're on the water a lot, brother. What do you use? What do you like to use? What color lenses? What's Captain Blair wearing these days?
Same thing I've been wearing the past 35 years, man. It's Costa all the way. I've trusted my eyeballs to them, and I can still see pretty good distance. Close up, I can't see anymore.
I know.
That's just to due to the digits on the license. But
yes.
but I can still see pretty good. And I love the green mirror lens. It's a good all around lens. It works good in the ocean, works good in freshwater, saltwater. It's just, but if I was just fishing Muskie Lagoon or Indian River, that type of kind of a brownish water, it would be be the amber colored lens. And, everybody knows blue, match the blue ocean offshore when you're offshore. But if you just want a good all round lens, that green mirror is what I choose a lot.
Yeah, I had a recent visit with the eye doctor, and she kind of gave me a little bit of a scare when she walked into the office, and I'm sure you're having the same issue. She says, Dave, looks like you're suffering from a case of birthdays. I'm like, my heart started to jump, thinking that I had another problem. When she says, yeah, it's birthdays. I know. But, yeah, I get it. A lot of digits on that driver's license, that's for sure. So do you have a particular lens that you like to wear, Blair, for low light conditions and then change up, or do you pretty much stick with the green throughout the day?
I pretty much stick with the green. I know Costa's got some new colors coming out that they've asked me to try. So they do have some really good low light stuff. And, I hate to say it, but, I don't know what their best low light stuff is right now because I've just been so stuck on the green mirror.
You've had a lot of anglers on your boat, not only guiding, but also doing, television production shows for decades now. What do you feel is the number one mistake anglers make that reduces their strike ratio when they're out on the flat? Is it the lack of lure cover scent? Is it boat noise? Really, what do you see as the number one item that people need to pay attention to?
Pay attention to exactly what happens when you get your first strike of the day.
Well, interesting.
Because if you're using live bait, you might be throwing line bait for 2 hours, and this is what I always tell people: it's not like you see on TV. It doesn't happen that way. We condense down, a whole day into 15 minutes. So you might be out there for an hour or 2 hours, and you're not getting a dang bite, not even a cricket looking at your bait, nothing. And you start slowing down, and oh geez, it's really getting tiring. This is nothing. But next thing you know, boom, you get a hit, and you get fired up. Your heart starts pumping. You start working that bait fast again, working it. Another 2 hours go by. Man, this sucks. We're not catching anything. Slowing down again, or maybe even stop, throw the line out, stop, and relieve yourself off the side of the boat because some adult beverages or something, and the bait's sitting up there. And what happens? A lot of times you even call it, hey, watch, I'm going to get a hit while I'm doing this. And sure enough, And they might, and 9 times out of 10, they'll miss the fish that hits because they're fumbling trying to put stuff back in and get the rod in their hands.
Right.
And they miss the fish, and they go back to fishing fast again and working that bait. If they would have thought about it and thought about how they were working that bait when they first got the first hit of the day, and try to imitate that throughout the day until that technique doesn't work anymore, then start changing it up. But that would be my biggest, I guess, advice to somebody out fishing.
Well, it's all about finding the pattern and situational awareness. And you and I have talked about that a lot in the past. And I agree. How whatever hit, you need to duplicate that. And the more you can duplicate that during that tide cycle or whatever the case may be, the more strikes that you're probably going to get.
Exactly. And get out there and do it. Don't be a YouTube expert. Everybody can watch a YouTube video and go out and try to imitate it, but it's not like doing it for real. I mean, you could watch 100 videos or 100 episodes of Swamp People and go out and get your hand bit off by a gator. Just because you're watching Swamp People doesn't make you a gator hunter.
That doesn't make you an expert at all. That's for sure.
Not unless you stay at a Holiday Inn Express, I guess.
Exactly. I heard that. Well, our next section I'm really looking forward to discussing with you. And this one is being brought to you by our partners over at FilterMag International. Feel free to hit FilterMag at shopfiltermag.com. And remember to use the code FlatsNation10 to save 10% off of their products. Blair, tell me about the new skiff boat that you're running. I saw some pictures and video on it. Very interesting concept. Tell me about that puppy.
Well, I've just been starting to leak it out a little bit of the new boat, and it is a fishing machine. I mean, for the past 20 years, I've promoted the family type style monohull boat, take the family out and do this. Granted, it's going to be a family boat as well, but it's a boat built for fishing that you can take your family on, not a family boat that you can take fishing.
Exactly.
So I've got a lot of say in the design of it. They're not coming out with a full, smooth cap on it yet. They're just doing the splatter on it right now. But it is a 27-foot flats boat that you could pretty much pitch a tent on the deck up front. We're going to be able to utilize it for the clam restoration project a lot. And it only drafts 10 inches, so I can get into places that I was getting any of my other bay boats into. And I can take this thing offshore, and it is going to be a dream ride in the Gulf because the length of it stretching across the waves, there's no pattern over there in the Gulf.
Well, this is true. This is true. And I agree about that forward deck section. You can land a Chinook on that puppy. It's huge.
It's unbelievable. And I'm to the point now, I pole very little anymore. And when I do want to pole, they do have a 17-foot tiller skiff that will go as shallow as you need to go. I mean, it literally will float across mud. It seems like that thing goes real shallow.
So what engine are you going to hang on this puppy?
Throwing a 350 Verado on the back of it. It could take up to a 450 if you want to put one on.
Wow.
But, I think a 350 is going to be just fine for me. I don't need to break the sound barrier in the boat. Just do about, if I want to get it up to 60, 65, I'll be able to do that if I want to. But, it'll cruise real good at the 40 to 42 mile an hour range and go all day long. And just it's like a rocket sled on rails. I mean,
does it have a engine jack on it?
Yeah, it'll have a TH Marine Atlas jack plate on the back of it. And one cool thing about it, the boats are built right here in Florida, up in Cross City, just south of Steenahatchee, and it's a Texas style boat. It's called a deck cat for anybody that wants to go look them up. They're deckcatboats.com, and it's like a shoal water or a SCB style boat, just bigger. And I know a lot of the guys out there running those SCBs and shoal waters, they want a bigger boat. And I think the biggest, that style boat right now on the market's a 25-footer. And the others are common at a 23.5-foot.
And what's the beam on this cat hull?
You had to ask me that, didn't you? I think it's 9 foot.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 9 foot. It's
huge,
it's
a nice, big, wide beam boat that drafts 10 inches of water. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's incredible, and it's got a nice round live well in it, so the baits aren't going to have red noses from bumping into the sides of the bait well. It'll have a release well up front. It's going to have like a half tower on it, so I'll be able to use it offshore for cobia fishing, sight fishing, triple tail, and whatnot. So I cannot wait to get this boat.
I bet. Now we're going to put 1 or 2 power poles on the back of this puppy.
Putting 2 10-footers on the back. Wet Sounds is throwing in a stereo that when I turn it on over here, you might be able to hear it over there.
Awesome. I would expect no less.
Oh yeah, and it'll have a trolling motor on the front. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I can say right now.
Right.
It'll have a trolling motor on the front of it.
Awesome.
It is absolutely incredible.
Speaking of that, for the average guy, who's got a skiff or a bay boat now, what do you feel return on investment wise? For those on a tight budget like all of us are, power pole, trolling motor. What else do you feel is really going to give them the best bang for the buck when they're out there fishing the flats?
As far as the newest equipment out there on the market?
Sure, newest equipment or any equipment. They're looking at their skiff and they're thinking, I'd like to do some upgrades. What's going to give me the best return?
I know a lot of the guys out there right now are switching to lithium batteries, including myself. Saves a lot of weight, time. And if you look at it, I think even though it's lithium, might be a little bit more ecological friendly too, because of the fact you don't have all that battery acid in there, and you don't have 3 68-pound batteries in your boat. You have one battery that weighs about 28 pounds that's carrying 36 volts. It's not going to die for 5 days.
It is amazing technology and amazing how they can make them.
Need I say more? I mean, they're incredible how they work. I've got a 36 volt trolling motor on the front of my airboat, and I can almost get it on plane with that thing, and it's a 136-volt battery in there that powers it. And
technology.
I've just got a little portable charger that I charge it up with every couple times I take it out, because it hadn't died on me yet, and I think I've gone 4 days with it without it dying.
Wow. Talk to me about electronics. Who are you running nowadays? And how does it compare to gear that you've used in the past?
Well, that's one of them sponsors I'm wide open for. So,
oh, interesting.
Actually, I've been trying to do Simrad, Lowrance. That's another one right there that they've all got the side imaging on them now. You got the live view on some of the deal. You got Garmin, which is an awesome unit out there. I ran Humminbirds forever, and it seemed like every year they'd come out with 3 new models that I'd have to learn. And there's a lot of buttons and switches and all sorts of stuff on those units that you got to learn and forget and learn again. So,
yeah, this is true.
I am waiting to see where I settle on electronics, but there's a lot more that are out there. There's a lot of them out there that are real good for saltwater, and I'm kind of leaning towards the Simrad or the Lowrance, but we'll see where I end up.
No, this is true.
They all do the same thing. They find fish. They get you to point A to point B to C to D and back to A.
This is true. How many hours a year are you now racking up on your engines?
On your
outboard. Yeah, on the outboards. I mean, between show production and everything else, I mean, how many hours are you putting on these puppies?
Actually, you'd think I'd be putting a lot more on there, but it's a lot of travel that we do. Say we travel out to Texas and fish for 4 or 5 days. It's almost the same amount traveling out there. You take a couple of days to get out there, stop here, stop there. Yeah, so I mean, I think I just sold that last boat I had for a year and a half and had less than 100 hours, or had right at 100 hours on it.
Wow.
So, but we had 3 boats that we were using from Skeeter at the time too. So, I had that one the longest, and I think the other 2 had like 50 or 60 hours on it when we got rid of those.
Are you having any sponsors that directly related to the engines, whether it's oil or fuel additives, or are you having any of those now with the new show?
Yep. Starbright has stuck around. One of the best companies that I've ever had. They've been with me for quite a long time. Those guys make Startron. They also
great product.
Great product, and they have a new product out there called Fuel Stabilizer that comes in an orange bottle. And I've been using that now since hurricane season. I had to store my generator, so we'll see how that does. Next year when I bring the generator, this year when I bring the generator out and get it going for the next hurricane. But it's for long time storage, and when you bring it back out, you can put some regular Startron in there, and you're not going to OD your engine on Startron. And it is a very good product for your engine. Very good product. And the Starbright that I just did a Starbright video this morning, cleaning my airboat. We went out and did a snipe hunt and filmed it. And if you've ever been on the St. Johns River,
it's a mess.
The mud is the worst. And my seed deck is 4 years old and it still looks brand new.
Well, I'm a big fan, and I've written articles about their mold and mildew remover. Now, it's a little hard on your feet if you're cleaning with a pair of flip-flops on. It'll chew you. It'll chew on you too. And it's amazing, Blair, when that stuff starts to get down into the bilge, what comes flushing out the end of the boat like quail. You never knew that you had all those palmetto bugs in there until that starts creeping in there and setting them on fire.
Oh yeah, that is for sure. Another product that they have is called bilge cleaner. You fill your bilge up full of water and you dump this stuff in there, and you on your way to the boat ramp or whatever, all that sloshing that goes on with all the water in there just cleans it, and you dump it out, and it's all good biodegradable stuff, and it doesn't hurt the environment. So you plop it out when you're filling your gas up.
Well, that's interesting, because I used to use the old lava soap bar trick. Just throw them in there and let it, as it's sloshing around, let the lava soap and the pumice knock it free. And of course, what's coming out the bilge drain is kind of nasty looking, but that's its job, is to go in there and clean it. So I'll have to give some of that a try.
Yeah, try it. It's bilge cleaner, and they do. There's 2 different scents that they have. I like the blueberry type scent that they have. That one works real well.
Awesome. Well, you and I both started using power pools probably about the same time that they actually started making the first ones. Oh man, what is this, like 03 is when they started? Yeah.
It,
I mean,
it was a long time ago, it seems.
how has that product evolved? I mean, they got fantastic, and they've always had fantastic customer support. One of the best in the industry. But how has that evolved and stacks up to the sometimes copycat competition that we see on the market?
Well, you said it right there, copycat. If it wasn't a good product, you wouldn't have the copycats out there,
It's
and
true.
you wouldn't really have the biggest name, one of the biggest names in outdoor OEM products out there. You know, the trolling motors and the Raptors and the it was Johnson Outdoors. I mean, Johnson Outdoors copied them to AT as soon as John's patent ran out. They jumped all over it. They're making granted, it's a good product. It's a beefy product, but it's if you take the labels off of it, you can't tell the difference between that and the power pole.
Yeah, it
Looking
is
at
a
it,
copycat. It is.
it's a copycat. And
It's a
why you
copycat.
want to buy? Why you want to buy a copycat?
Yeah, sure. I agree. I mean, you and I have been using those decades.
Forever, and I'm very very happy to be back with John and Powerpole. No doubt about that.
So tell me, what's in the works at Blair Wiggins Outdoors that the flash fishing junkies would like to know so they can watch and learn with the new season and episodes that are coming up? What's in the mix?
Well, we did a real good. We got a good show done so far down in Southwest Florida from Naples. We got 2 inshore shows from down there and a couple offshore shows. Show from up in Homosassa, that area. We'll be going back up there as well to that Steenahatchee area since that's where they're making the boat.
Yes,
I'll,
yes.
I'll definitely be hitting that area for some good trout and redfish and grouper shows in the fall. But gonna take it out to Louisiana and Texas again, and go hit the real far south down Brownsville again. Maybe go see if how they're doing with the snook down there, because I'm seeing pictures on the internet. They are really starting to figure those guys out down there, along with the big tarpon off Padre Island. They have been slaying the big tarpon down there.
That's amazing how that area, though, when it comes to its snook fishery, has progressed.
Well, they've always been there. It's just they're finally starting to figure out how to catch them. Because if you look on the lateral line, there's Corpus Christi and the Lower Laguna Madre and Brownsville down there. They're on the lines of Key Largo and Southwest Florida down there
Right,
on the
right.
white lines.
Latitude-wise, yep, they are.
Yeah. And, that Lower Laguna Madre down there is absolutely incredible. Love fishing. It reminds me of the Banana River. You could, if you were wading in the Lower Laguna Madre and were able to instantly transport yourself back in time to like 1975 in the Banana River, you could not tell the difference that you moved. That's how close they were together or in similarity. There's not much tide flow.
True.
Just like here.
Very true. What about in that area? Because I don't follow that area as closely as you do naturally. What conservation issues are they battling with there, or are they not dealing with it like we are here? Or are they having any? Do they have the water quality issues that we've been battling with, or has it stayed a pretty pristine area?
They had a real bad brown algae problem at one time with, they weren't getting much water flow. So they actually opened up the Packery Channel, which was an old inlet that's right at the top of Corpus Christi Bay. And within weeks, it improved. They had schools of redfish right out just south of John F. Kennedy Causeway, which is across the mouth of Corpus Christi Bay. And, the Lower Laguna Madre. And they had schools of redfish. Within weeks, the water quality improved, flushed the brown tide out. And they're pristine and catching giant trout and redfish, black drum, flounder, and everything they're doing.
So basically, what we're fighting with in Florida Bay, a hypersalinic situation then. And now that they've been able to get more fresh water into it, or estuarine water, that's amazing. Yeah, I like that. That sounds great. Anything else that you'd like everybody to know about with the new show that's coming up?
Well, just if like you asked me earlier, what's going to be different on the TV part of it, and it's not really much. That's going to be the fishing, but the internet side of it, my YouTube channel, we're really going to start pushing that, the Instagram. So anybody out there that can get out and like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, it helps with the sponsors, because I can say, hey, look, I got this many.
I get it.
It works. It definitely helps. So if you like what you're seeing out there, please like and subscribe, and give us a comment out out there, and I will do my best to answer, like I always have, as many people as I can. I could literally sit here on the computer 24/7.
I bet.
I try to still answer everybody that I can.
Well, brother, we appreciate you joining us. It's long overdue. We should have done it sooner. And I'm really looking forward to our next couple of shows where we've got the time to sit and talk about your conservation efforts more in depth. I'm really, really intrigued to hear about that and reading on it, and just impressed, very impressed on the turnaround and how quickly that situation is improving because of those efforts.
Yeah, it is doing well. And what I like is a lot of people are waking up over here, and they're not using the fertilizers as heavy as they were. And, you hear about people educating other people, and it hopefully the word's getting out there, because, I'll never see this river in the shape it was in when I was a kid. But if I can get it, help be part of it to get it halfway back the way it was. I mean, we're talking, early 90s when it was, people think, oh, it was great in the 90s. Well, you should have seen it in the 70s. But if I can get it, if I can improve it even a little bit, I'll feel that my efforts were worth it.
Well, I do appreciate those efforts, and I appreciate you taking the time to join us. We love having you. I've known you for years. One of my great friends. Enjoy talking to you.
I was just thinking about that earlier, and I mean, I remember sitting there talking to you when we had the Mogan Theater going at the Florida Sportsman shows, and oh man, that was a time back then.
That was a time. It was many moons ago too. Back when, like I said earlier, when both of us just had all blonde hair.
How about just hair? I still got a little bit up there, but it's I'm having to go to a hat this year. That's going to be one big change you'll see.
So no more visor.
Oh, I'm tired of getting my head sunburned. So
it's amazing.
The visor's gone.
Well, evolve or die, right? As they say.
Yeah, and anybody that saw any of the shows last year, the beard is gone too. So. Well,
now, was that a request from Miss Carrie, or is that?
I think it was a request from everybody.
Okay. I was just checking on that, because I remember seeing the shows on there. I'm like, I don't think Carrie's going to allow that to stay on there very long.
That was a request from everybody. That when I shaved it off, it was like, man, it like I gained 25 years. So it's
amazing, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Very amazing.
What's more amazing is when you grow it and it's all white. I'm like, really? Seriously? Get this thing out.
That was just very light blonde.
Okay, there you go. I like that.
Yep.
It's all in how the color tones are. I get it. Well, brother, thank you. I appreciate it. Looking forward to talking to you soon with these newer shows that we're working on the conservation efforts. I think those are going to be phenomenal. And thanks for joining us, brother. I do appreciate it.
Well, Dave, thank you very much. And definitely looking forward to the next one. If we can do it here before, we're going to have that fundraiser in November. So let's do another one before then and get that promoted. And it's open to everybody. And anybody that's ever been to a CCA banquet, it's like a CCA banquet, but it's on steroids. We're going to try to get a band in and make a weekend out of it, and just have a really, really good time. Maybe even have a clam bake.
Really? Are you going to dig up Hasty Dixie again?
I would. I wish we could, brother.
Flashback for you.
I wish we could. We can get part of them down here. I know that.
That's amazing. Well, brother, thanks for the time. Do appreciate it. And yes, we will get this other show done. I'm working on some good questions for that one, and I think it'll be very educational. I'm looking forward to it.
Sounds good, brother. I appreciate it. And everybody out there, we'll see you on the water.
Yes, sir. Thank you, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Dave.
Well, we hope you enjoyed our show today and found it both educational and entertaining at the same time. If you or your company would like to join the team on Flats Nation for a podcast or other coverage, feel free to drop us a quick note at info@flatsnation.com. And now, here's the rest of the song to run the skiff back home with. Tight lines and God bless.